Gobert, we were right about the Gobert as
Yeah,
well. Played the minutes, didn't take the shots. Like
people, the things I heard about Gobert, people were like, I think, and that was I don't know if we're live, but that was
yeah, I think we're live now.
that was one of the watching basketball type things where people were like, Gobert should go nuts in this, and I'm like, eh. And people are like, well, maybe he gets played off the court, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Quinn Snyder, who's a real stick to his guns kind of coach, will play him as normal minutes. I just don't think they go into Gobert posting up PJ Tucker mode. That's not something they do. So I was like, I think he plays his normal minutes, and he's really popular. I don't think he has a particularly exceptional game. So I wish had been more critical, because I doubt myself a lot. That's one of those times where the game is starting and I'm like, there really isn't a good reason Rudy Gobert can't just do quite a bit. And again, I love me some PJ Tucker, but
yeah, the other one that was fun was me saying bad things about Shetty. And then he had a great game.
I can't take any credit for that one. Again, Allen worked just as I hoped. Like, that was good because there were a couple times I went against the flow and said, this is what I think the coach does with Gobert, with Jared Allen. I was like, I understand the minutes have been trending heavily the other way, but the way I imagine this game goes is just like the last 3 times they played it. Jared Allen goes out, puts his thing down. And I think when that happens, Kenny Atkinson's going to run him the majority of minutes. And there was a blowout. So he played 25 to DeAndre's 20, but he would have been, right what he did the other 3 times they played Charlotte this year, played 28 minutes and dropped 45 fantasy points. Still very, very good. But yeah, it was a good day. It's a good day. It was a fun day. I was disappointed when we didn't win $100,000. So I looked at the best possible lineup of like, I talked about literally everyone here. It was Nunn and Reddish and Allen and a few Mavs and Giannis. I'm like, okay, someone had to put that together. It's a 3-way split, and it was none of us. It was very sad.
Yeah, it was still a fun night, even though the Brunson was a little bit painful. I didn't have enough None. I inadvertently capped that, and I capped Wright as well. So
sort of the same thing with Nunn as with Allen, as it was a matchup I really liked for him. And so him being spelled by Dragic to great extent is not that dissimilar from DeAndre Jordan spelling Jared Allen. I don't think they need as much help. So obviously it's not locked in stone and difficult to quantify, but I think there's a real chance he goes out and plays well. And in games without Butler and Hero before, they've given him 30 whatever minutes. So I think especially when he was cheaper and going to be 20% owned due to Dragic. So it's sort of like the same process I think people should employ when they're building a lineup, and that you should have a theory and think how a game is going to go. Obviously, you can't do that if you're building 150 lineups, but I think this game goes like this, and that's why I'm going with these plays that correlate, that fit that certain narrative. And it's sort of the same thing I'm doing. I'm like, yeah, I think Nunn goes out and does just fine, and he's young. They're perfectly happy to throw 30 plus minutes at him, and gets there.
All right, let's kind of get started here. We got a chunk of people have caught up with us. We got about closing in on 800 here. Hit that like button. We do appreciate that. I forgot to ask for those yesterday, but if you're around, definitely do that. We are sponsored tonight by SuperDraft. They are locking at 6, so that is 55 minutes from now. They have a $17,000 jump shot, $3,500 to first. First time in 2 days, or we had 2 in a row for Osmo winners. Was not won by an Osmo employee last night.
Slackers.
Yeah. But Rinpack and Tom and Alex, they were all peppering the leaderboard. So hey, these projections are working out. SuperDraft, the multipliers is the unique way of doing things there. You have 3 guards, 3 forwards, and a center. You can play anybody. There is no salary cap. But someone tonight like Bradley Beal would have a 1.2 multiplier, but someone like, I don't know, Jordan McLaughlin has a 1.9 multiplier.
Really?
What do you want to talk about, Eddie? Let's talk about some good stuff here. So D'Angelo Russell resting, probably playing video games or something with Karl Anthony Towns, who's
what I do when I'm resting. Yeah, I really think the odds of the 2 of them being within 6 feet of a console tonight are greater than 50%. And
yeah,
God bless them.
Yeah. No Evan Turner. Jordan McLaughlin will be starting. So I want to talk about him. That was just announced. So let's just start. Okay, let me quickly hit the other guys.
Sure.
Oladipo was out. Chandler Hutchison is out.
Also for that team, Jake Layman isn't back. Several guys are still down in the G League because it matters for minutes when you're looking at this team. Jared Vanderbilt is still down. Amari Spellman is still down. Jacob Evans is still down. And they recently announced Alan Crabbe won't play. Okay, go.
Yep. So those are the main guys. Toronto, of course, Norman Powell's still out. Fred VanVleet fan club isn't quite full. I'll drop the link in there for that. If you win that with an Osmo avatar, you get 30 free days of the Osmo premium package. You get question mark here on Luke Cornett, Wendell Carter Jr., and Denzel Valentine. I suspect we should have that information before we go off air. Of course, Markkanen, Otto Porter, Chris Dunn, Chandler Hutchison all still out. Marquise Chris questionable. Has he missed one game or was it? Yeah, I think
he played the game. He played the game when he came back. He just played limited time. He played their post All-Star break game and played 16 minutes, I think.
Right, so he's dealing with a sore calf. ESPN season long league. They had some crappy injury designations. They're very slow. It's a shame. They used to be a good site. Draymond Green resting tonight, so most likely that means Eric Pascal will be in the starting lineup, and then Bruce Brown available to play. Oh, our friend Jay Walker, who will be doing a podcast with me tonight.
Really?
For tomorrow. Just let me know that the Fred VanVleet contest filled up by 3 o'clock. Well, excellent. Good on you guys. Definitely join the DK group there.
I wish you would make that free, because then I think I would be allowed to play, and I would enjoy that. But go ahead.
We could. We always could do that.
Maybe one day.
Perhaps we should. If we get to the playoffs, that may not be a bad way to do it. Actually.
Yeah, I'll have a PJ Tucker fan club.
And you have to play Jordan McCall.
I'll get my own. Ooh, God. Pat McCaw, you mean?
Sorry, Pat McCaw. I'm looking at Jordan Lofton. So let's talk about him first. So 4-year starter at USC Trojans. He was solid, scored 12 or 15 points or so a game, had 4 or 5 assists a game, was an adequate, not above average shooter, especially when you take into account the 3-point lines closer there. Undrafted, 2 years in the G League, counting part of this year. And he's on a 2-way contract. He has played in 20 games this season. He made 1 start, Eddie, where he was phenomenal. That was the hi, we're all new to the Timberwolves and we're going to beat the crap out of the Clippers game. He shot 72% that game, had 11 assists, 4 rebounds. I don't think that's in the realm of outcomes. I put him down in the article today as a risky chalk, just saying, look, we don't have a huge track record on this guy. Could he get a fantasy point per minute? Sure. But could he, end up with 20 fantasy points tonight? Yeah, we could see that. So it's not a slam dunk. We're absolutely playing him. Just know, realm of outcomes there is this guy doesn't have a huge track record. Turning it over to you. What do you want to do with him? What do you want to do with Reed? A whole bunch of guys there for the T-Wolves. Oh, Malik Beasley, very good with the shooting background in the Pepsi Center. I can't remember why, but
he lingered in purgatory there for quite some time. I consider McLaughlin. Well, this is going to come down to ownership. I haven't looked at all today, so I have not a clue. I will fire a guess at high 30s on McLaughlin and low 30s on Malik Beasley. How am I looking?
Oh, I'm sorry for percentages. I was just reading the super chat.
I could load it, but just for presentation purposes, there I was having fun.
Right. No, well, we got a super chat from Shimmy Coco Pop. By the way, he took down SuperDraft, and I've seen his name on the leaderboard many times because at first glance I think it's shit my money, and then I always laugh because Shimmy Coco Pop is kind of a funny thing to say. But
an objectively great name, yeah.
Yeah, so very good. So congratulations. He says, thanks to Eddie switching off some Gobert and Drummond to Ayton after hearing you talk last night helped him out. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, way to go. Yeah, Ayton worked out too. I forgot about that one. Yeah, it was overall a really solid night. I'm sure I completely screwed the pooch on something, and I can check my Twitter mentions for people only talking about that, I'm sure. But overall, pretty good. So we have McLaughlin at 43%. I don't hate it. And again, I think your take is correct, but the only reason why I'm less concerned is there's nobody there. Like You're dealing with no Towns, no Russell is similar to dealing with, let's say, I don't know, no Luka and no Kristaps. And we saw certainly how that can turn out. So is it failable? Sure. but he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot. I expected him to start. They announced it, which is a bit of a shame because that's going to drive that number up even a little bit more. But I have him at 35 minutes. I have him at 30 fantasy points. He costs 4,000 or 4,300, and that's a very, very good price. So that number is about where it should be. I don't have a strong take on that. I think Beasley is low. We have Beasley at a hair over 20%. That is low for me. The matchup obviously in Denver isn't ideal, but he has not been in any way averse to just hucking the ball. And I have him at 24 and a half shot attempts tonight as my over under. And he just prices in too well for me. And he does some other things. He isn't super empty stat guy. But again, the complete absence of usage. And then again, not unlike Dallas, the presence of other guys around on the team who are not going to take a lot of shots, a la Josh Okogie is going to play 20 something minutes probably. And Jared Culver will get out there and play some minutes and even quite possibly play the backup points in this game. And there's so I would be at or over the 43% we show on McLaughlin. I would be maybe not double, but I would get into the 30s on Beasley pretty happily. It's even better play on FanDuel, where it's really hard to not play Beasley and McCollum as your shooting guards. I'm pretty sure he's a shooting guard. It's really hard to get away from those two guys. I will not be shocked if they go back to James Johnson starting here. This doesn't matter a whole lot for me. The price on those guys, he and Naz Reid I'm referring to, both being in that 5K range makes them a little dicey for me. This is not a team that's incredibly easy to get in the interior. That's not the point of least resistance. That probably actually is point guard for what it's worth. Getting around anyone else on this team is tough. You're dealing with all kinds of Harris, Barton, Craig, Millsap, Jokic. You can get a ceiling game out of either of these guys. Jokic certainly not a brilliant defender, so you could get a similar Naz Reid game to the game you had last time. I think it is more likely he gets a little more limited. I don't think they're married to him. Again, this is very, Jared Allen, Kendrick Nunny speech of how I expect this game to go. But I'd go maybe 50-50 that they start James Johnson again. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they start ceding minutes towards him pretty quickly, even if Naz Reid does get the start, because Naz Reid is really bad defensively. He's a worse offensively. Karl Anthony Towns just about as bad defensively. They just played the Celtics. You may recall Daniel Tice dropped whatever the hell it was, 25 and 16. That's not because he, Space Jam sucked out the spirit of Shaquille O'Neal or something. It's because Naz Reid's really that bad. So, and I like Naz Reid fun as a player, but he's got some work to do on that end of the court. So, I think those guys are fine in GPPs. I think anyone on this team you expect to see minutes beginning with. Sorry, Juancho probably comes in third for me after the two names. I'm obviously Gaga over. I think he gets over 30 minutes, and I think instead of taking 8-10 shots, you quite possibly see 14-15 here. That price is perfectly tolerable. But for me, Beasley and McLaughlin are priced extremely well, and by far the most likely sources of production. So they both got AA rankings from me, and pretty significant priorities. Juancho, I ranked him, I think, as a C and a B, which is probably a little diminutive. That should probably be a B and an A, maybe a B and a B. The upside's a little bit limited. The price isn't brilliant where he's over 5K, but I'm a Juancho fan. But price opportunity and where it's easiest to get at this team and the number of shots I expect them to see, I would. I'd start a lot of lineups tonight with Beasley, McLaughlin, Pascal. Eat some chalk that way, and they're all pretty appropriately priced. I like Eric Pascal a lot. I like the. I know I'm segueing a bit here, but I like the matchup quite a bit for him. The price is obviously again really good. When you get Draymond out of there, he goes from playing 24 minutes a game to 34 minutes a game, and he goes from 0.8 something fantasy points a minute to 0.9 something fantasy points a minute. And in this matchup, I have him bid over fantasy point a minute, and that obviously makes him very, very compelling. So McLaughlin and Pascal, we both have within 0.2 of a percentage point in ownership as our highest two guys on the slate. I don't hate them. I know I'm supposed to hate the chalk. That's sort of my thing. We have Naz Reid is third, also over 40%. There we go. I'll hate that one. the minutes could be limited, the time could be limited, foul trouble could be an issue, and he could just get yanked for not being incredibly good defensively. He's fine. There's an upside. You can absolutely catch a very big game here. But it's not likely enough at 40% with some of the other really high upside plays that are out there that I'd want to be at or over 42.5% Naz Reid. And so hopefully people here are under, or we catch news at 6:57 that James Johnson is starting and we can cut bait and run.
All right, let's talk about the Denver side here. We are kind of missing a few top shelf super duper stars tonight, in that there really aren't any in the player pool. So
yeah.
Jokic is definitely one of them here. Denver is favored by, last I saw it was 13. So it, there is a good chance that his services may not be needed for the final frame, but he could get, a 25, 10, and 10 on his way there and still not completely kill you. How are you feeling about Jokic with the direct comparison, who I think is actually a better player in a better spot tonight, Hassan Whiteside? But that's kind of a good leverage pivot. Now in DK, you can play them both because you do have the utility spot, but on the other sides, you're choosing between the two of them.
Based on the prices on DraftKings, I would straight up prefer Jokic. Close, but I would straight up prefer Jokic by a little bit, and I expect him to be well lower owned. Let me take a look at what that is looking like. We have Jokic at 19%. We have Whiteside at 27%. Yeah. So I slightly prefer Jokic by projection standards anyway, and he's that much lower. So I like Whiteside quite a bit as well. You obviously have no Lillard. Detroit can't stop anyone from doing anything. Whiteside is still getting extremely relevant minutes. No reason to expect that to start. And whether or not he's seeing Thon McCurr or Sekou Doumbouya or Christian Wood or any of that Jazz or any of those Pistons, more to the point. I would expect him to have a very nice game, but 9,700 on DK, a little less likely to spike the kind of upside to 10K price that you're going to get out of Jokic. I don't have a problem if you play them both. I don't have a problem at all if you play Whiteside over Jokic. I think Whiteside outscores Jokic 46% of the time or something, so I don't have a strong take here, but in one lineup, especially at lower ownership, I would play Nikola Jokic over Hassan Whiteside, which is a really interesting pronunciation thing. It's Nikola Jokic and Nikola Vucevic, I think, like based on their nationalities and local dialects, they are pronounced differently. I may have inverted it there, but there is a right and a wrong way, and they're not the same way to say those two names.
I was truly not aware of it.
That's the kind of extra information I provide.
Anybody else you want from Denver? They're mostly back to full health. Oh, and I think Mason Plumlee is back.
Yeah, he's in. He played in the last game. Yeah, I don't mind anyone from Denver. This Minnesota team should be a train wreck. Barton at 5,400 feels good for me. I have Barton ranked at double A's. That's a really outstanding matchup. He's only $5,400 on DraftKings, and the minutes should be fairly secure. So accepting a blowout, he should still be able to. It's very Mike Conley from last night, as in, I think a lot of the guys on this team can get there, but that price is still just a little too cheap for a guy still project around 30. And there is an upside to be had past that. So he squeaks into an A in cash and certainly an A in GPPs. I think there's a big upside there. Jamal Murray doesn't price quite as well for me. I think he was a B in cash and an A in GPPs, just purely based on the fact that, and this is a guy I was hammering when he was coming back from injury at like 62. I'm like, in practice, the guy looks extremely good. I expect him to be at full strength, and he proceeded to go off and demolish that price a few days in a row. So not quite as excited about Murray. Millsap, I have him as a C in cash and an A in GPPs. A in GPPs is obvious. It's $4,500. It's a guy who can get an upside. It's a team that will allow steals and blocks. And the minutes were back to, I want to say, 27 in the post All-Star break game. I do think it's worth pointing out that I'm almost certain this is a back-to-back for them. And when you're talking about someone with the injury history, no, that's not. It's not for Denver.
For Denver?
All right, check for me. They do not play tomorrow. Minnesota does.
Denver plays on Tuesday. No.
Denver plays on Tuesday. Minnesota is in Dallas tomorrow. That's what it is. That's how I got it switched. So I would probably actually maybe raise him up to a B in cash based on that. I'll make that change and upload that in a second. But I thought there was a chance that with obviously potential blowout and minutes limiting and a number of very reasonable backups for him, and trying to come up with some more minutes for, say, Porter and Jeremy Grant being an excellent backup. That would have limited the minutes expectation for me, or at least introduced a downside, making him a little unappealing in cash for me. But I'm obviously fine getting to a $4,500 Paul Millsap. Past that, nothing jumps off the page.
right.
With everyone healthy there, it's a little limiting.
First-hand knowledge. I've got a source, Eddie, says that that Nikolai is they are actually not pronounced differently. This is from Nico Farr. He is Serbian. Used to live there. In back when Serbia and Montenegro were a country, and then obviously Montenegro separated, they are the same name, he says. I
will say that I saw it from an official source on an interview where someone asked someone, and then someone.
It could be like Jan Mahimny goes by Ian as well.
Where I'm repeating something I heard secondhand, but for reference, I would Google like pronunciation Jokic Vucevic and see if an interview or a link comes up or something, because I seem to recall, and I'm sorry for wasting time on this, but that someone specifically compared how they said their names. Yeah. I could be completely messing that, but I appreciate the correct.
No worries. I just thought that was kind of humorous. All right.
It's
anything else we want to wring out of this game? This is an important game, guys. There's going to be a couple that we kind of cruise through, so we'll make up on the time.
I got a lot of notes. This is one of several closeout meetings. This is the fourth meeting between Minnesota and Denver. I watched a lot of them earlier today. Nothing super surprising came up, which I didn't mention. The Towns only played 2 of those 3 games. They were ugly games. Those 3 games had 207, 209, and 198 points in overtime, I think, were the scores in those 3 games. Now, and a couple of those were recent. I think 2 of those games were February even. But regardless, so they all hit the under previously, I guess would be a reasonable point to make. But defense is going to be a well bit worse. But so are the offensive players. And Denver might stomp them. So I can't think of anything relevant for DFS to say. So no, I'll punt it.
All right. They just said we've got the Minnesota lineup: McLaughlin, Beasley, Okogie, Hernan Gomez, and Reed.
Yeah, Reed. Okay, there you go. Well, then Reed will update his ranking too.
Valentine and Cornette are both out, as is Wendell Carter Jr.
This is important. Okay, so Wendell Carter Jr. is not playing. I will remove him from my DC ranking I gave him, where I thought he might get in there. Is anyone in other than the 8 players who played for Chicago? Actually, I'm sorry, they ran Adam Makoka out there last time. Other than the 9 players they had active last game.
They have not given us a starting lineup, but they have ruled those questionable guys out.
Okay, so I'll assume it's the same lineup we had last time.
All right, and a bonus, which, hey, shout out to Alex. You know him better as Osmo, just giving us a little all Slack channel Twitter here, or an announcement saying that Elijah Wood looks to be out for the XFL game. So I'm going to quickly make my lineup adjustments on the fly here.
Elijah Wood? Frodo?
Maybe I chose the wrong name. What is it?
We're taking the hobbits to Isengard. Sorry.
To Isengard. Anyway, the guy, whatever his name is, he's out. Okay.
I can name like 4 XFL players, so I am of no use in this conversation. Not that
Elijah Hood. Sorry. That was not that one letter off. I can name like 5 XFL players, but I've cashed every week, so this has been fun.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that's what's important.
We have projections; they're very, very good.
No, I hear. I'm a dinosaur in this industry. I am told projections don't watch the sport or anything. It's the way to go. So.
All right,
I'm just talking hoops.
Back to the fun at hand here. Let me get you off and running on our next one. Indiana at Toronto. We do know Victor Oladipo is out. Toronto favored at home by 5.5 here. I am not really excited by anyone in particular in this. I am playing a little Fred VanVleet in his namesake contest. But other than that, nobody was really popping for me. I want to hear about TJ Warren because he's had some nice games lately. Not the easiest of matchups against Toronto, though.
Yeah, he's looked good. Points per dollar, I still have to. I'm a little bit behind Jeremy Lamb, who should re-enter the starting
Okay.
lineup. Oladipo's back locked up, causing him to miss the end of the last game, and so Lamb went back to closing 4,200 on FanDuel. Again, a lot of guys in this game are priced much better on FanDuel, so it is a bit of a tale of two sites. Please keep in mind the rankings are DraftKings specific, so you would have to adjust for that when they are this far off. Also, the fourth meeting for these two teams, and they've definitely played a couple times in February. Yeah, they've played twice this month, also this calendar month. Yeah, again, really the two sites very different in this case. Let's see where to start here. It's really difficult because on DraftKings there are not really any significant priorities in this game. Let me check my projections and check my rankings and make sure I'm not fudging this in some fairly significant way. But yeah, on DraftKings, the only player to get an A for me on Indiana was Jeremy Lamb, barely squeaking it out in GPPs. Now, I don't like him that much better than 7,000 for Brogdon, who's been surprisingly good. He's actually like he maybe should have gotten an A in GPPs. He certainly would have on FanDuel, where $6,100 is a nice price, admittedly at a rough point guard position. So that's the problem with him there. So that's the problem. I would have trouble getting to a lot of Brogdon on either side because FanDuel point guard is remarkably deep, and DraftKings 7K is a more appropriate price. But he has dealt well with the Toronto backcourt going back to even Milwaukee days. That price is low enough that his minutes appear to have stabilized at a good point, and I think he's a strong tournament play. So you can go there. I like Sabonis just fine in this matchup. FanDuel 8K is a very fair price. I would want to have some of that. I slightly prefer LaMarcus Aldridge, which I suspect is different from several other people based on what I've seen and read so far today. But I would slightly rather play Aldridge there, and obviously on DraftKings, much rather play Aldridge for 20 whatever the hell dollars less. Where yeah, this team is just not priced that brilliantly, excepting TJ Warren. I like TJ Warren quite a bit. Again, I think I ranked him double Bs. You could have gone for an A in GPPs there. I am still concerned about the matchup, but did the rankings before confirmation of Oladipo out, which would have changed things a little bit. But that's just going to raise you slightly higher shot margin. And the price on DraftKings, he and Lamb are priced okay. Everyone else is swollen a little bit to the unfair range. So yeah, Turner is fine. It is not a good matchup for him, really anyone on this team, but it's actually a pretty good matchup for Brogdon. He's handled it well, but accepting Brogdon, it's not a particularly good matchup. So $5,000 for Miles Turner is always going to be intriguing in tournaments, but yeah, not a ton to say about them. And again, the same thing with Toronto.
So the starting lineup just came out for the Pacers. It's Brogdon, Holiday, Warren, Sabonis, and Turner. So does Holiday pop at all?
I'm presuming that's Aaron.
Aaron, yes. Sorry, my apologies.
The
youngest of the Holidays.
That's going to make Aaron Holiday very interesting, and I think I actually pulled him from the rankings at the last second because I assumed that they would go with this other rotation. So I'm going to have to make a change for that. But I think Aaron Holiday is the minimum.
I have pricing.
I think he is the floor if memory serves correctly. That makes him a pretty appealing.
He is 3 on DK, 35 on FanDuel, 10 on Yahoo.
Yeah, so I will add that adjustment to the ranking.
1.8 multiplier on SuperDraft.
Yeah, that's not good enough. I would have him if I remember how they've been running that unit and again. So we have no Sumner, no Oladipo. Yeah, at this point, I think I would have him at 30 minutes on the nose and something like 26 and a half fantasy points. So for the floor, that's obviously very appealing. So yeah, I think he's an excellent value, and coming out 30 minutes before lock, the ownership may not respond as much on a Sunday as we've seen in the past, but it'll bring down some of the other chalk. But yeah, I like Aaron Holiday quite a bit. Lamb gets a little less appeal because the minutes aren't that secure. Now, I still think it's quite likely he gets there, but you could see some significant share of his minutes going to Justin Holiday, who frequently does spike and pick up some time in a matchup here. So you may only get 24, 26 minutes of Jeremy Lamb, and that is fairly crippling at 4.8 or even 4.2 on FanDuel is kind of dissuading. So I will update rankings, re-add Aaron Holiday in while you sell something or pitch me to another game.
All right. Well, let's anything else you want from this game, we can talk about.
FanDuel, all these guys are great. Both sites, I would prefer to play Kyle Lowry to Fred VanVleet. I like the matchup slightly better for him. I think Pascal Siakam, especially on FanDuel, is an outstanding play and should not be outside your player pool on DraftKings. I would rank them Siakam. I would have Siakam, Lowry, VanVleet, Ibaka. I have some interest in all those guys. I don't think it's unreasonable to play OG Anunoby in this spot. An incredibly wide range of outcomes, which doesn't hurt you. If you went back and looked at the previous 3 games he played in all of those, and you literally had a 40 fantasy point game and a 5 fantasy point game, and both of those are very much in your range of outcomes. But I have him at 31 minutes. Still no Powell, still no Gasol.
Pat McCall is also out with an illness.
Yeah, that was expected. Did not rank. But I could have some Anunoby. So they're all pretty compelling tournament plays for me. But yeah, I would go Siakam. I have Lowry and Ibaka very close. It's a really nice spot for Ibaka. And he's looked really good against them frequently this year. So it is very much a tale of two sites. On DraftKings, I would rather play Ibaka. On FanDuel, I would rather play, say, Domantas Sabonis in the same game at the relative prices. So it really has a lot to do with site specificity. But yeah, some strong GPP plays in this game.
All right, let's go on to the next one. I'm going to talk a little bit about, it might be out of order, but we'll talk, I guess it is the same. San Antonio at OKC. Eddie has kind of mentioned a little bit, danced around a couple of the guys there, but Dennis Schroeder is available to play tonight. I can't remember if he was an illness or an injury, but while I'm looking that up, this one is in OKC. OKC favored by 5, 222 over under in this one. Wow, Steven Adams led Adam Ship My Money Share to a $100,000 win the other night. Did not see that one coming. The one guy I do have in some of my lineups is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. On the other side, we have DeJounte Murray, who has been playing healthy minutes recently. Is Pop considering to pull the rug out from us at some point on that one, or is this a new baseline 28-29 now with a little bit of upside?
Yeah, he I have no issue with you getting, we'll do the Spurs first. I have no issue with you getting to DeRozan. I prefer Aldridge and have him projected with a better points per dollar. There was a nice Twitter colloquy, not really a colloquy because there were a few people involved, but a nice conversation I had today with a few people about offense and defense, and touched on how the top 2 rated RPM point guards in the NBA are Dennis Schroeder and Chris Paul, which in the context of this conversation is by way of saying they have really good guard defense. And if this is also the 4th meeting for these teams, they just played. They played on
right before the break.
Or the 12th. They played right before the break. Yeah. So lots to talk about here. But if someone could double check me on this, if DeMar DeRozan outscores LaMarcus Aldridge tonight, I believe it will be the first time in a game they've played together against the Thunder in 6 tries or something like that. Aldridge does very, very well against Steven Adams. Steven Adams doesn't guard him terribly well. They tend to go that way. I'd see no reason for that to change in the current configuration, and I imagine Aldridge is going to be lower owned. I have seen several reputable websites with significant readership say that they prefer DeRozan. That someone can double check the stats here for me. But
I'm looking. Let's go back.
I'm pretty sure you want Aldridge against Steven Adams.
You want Aldridge. This is starting 6 games ago. 78 DK points, 34 DK points, 46 DK points, 57 earlier this year, 46 in the middle game, and then the last time they met 2 weeks ago, 51. Yeah,
it's a really good Aldridge spot. I don't know where his ownership is at, but I'm sure it's not significant enough. And it is a real systemic thing, which is why we've seen it, whatever you just said, a half dozen times in a row. It is a difficult spot for guards to score in for his team, and it is a fairly easy spot for him to score.
DeRozan has topped 40 fantasy points once in those.
Yeah, games. I believe Aldridge outscored him every game.
Yeah.
Even in the game where DeRozan got there, I think Aldridge got there more. But this is besides the point. That doesn't 5 out of 6 sample or 6 out of 6 sample doesn't change anything relevant. But yeah, it's a really good spot for Aldridge. It's difficult for the guards to do everything they want to, and they don't have a very good answer. Gallinari is not going to man up and make that happen. Steven Adams has failed to do it for some number of years now. He tends to be really efficient. You get 60% field goals going in, and it's a really nice spot at 10% ownership. The price isn't as cheap as I'd like it to be. Long gone are the days of like $6,700 Aldridge, without DeRozan and stuff like that. But I like Aldridge if I'm going to take a Spur. The nature of this game is going to lead to, I think you again do get the significant minutes out of DeJounte Murray. He was the third Spur I gave with an A in GPPs after Aldridge and after DeRozan, of course. So I still think it's an absolutely fine play, but I just think it tilts the other way. But that price is a little too cheap. The usage is still there. There is enough of an upside there. And he's priced better than the guys across the ball, for example, where you're dealing with the production split between Paul and SGA and Schroeder, who is admittedly very cheap, though has not had a good game against the Spurs this year in his 3 previous attempts. But I can't see any reason for that. You know what I'm saying? Like there's times I look at a trend and go, oh, that's why. I don't see any reason Schroeder can't have a good game here with how the benches are deployed, and the rotation for San Antonio isn't really that similar to what it was when they've previously played. The February game was the same, but previous to that. Anyhow, getting towards the end of the game, I don't mind getting to some Derek White because they're starting to lean a little bit more, maybe as the playoffs become a little more difficult towards their backcourt of the future, where you're seeing White next to DeJounte Murray. But I do think that this game leads to both teams closing fairly small, with obviously Aldridge at center, but you will get a few guards out there for both teams, so you'll be able to get SGA next to Paul, next to Schroeder, which is nice for all of them, and you should be able to get DeJounte Murray and Derek White closing again. They've been keeping Mills and Forbes on the bench and letting those guys close together a couple times recently, so I think it's reasonable to hope we see that again.
Wood or Aldridge is a question that came in.
Aldridge, not close. I like Christian Wood. I like the matchup for Christian Wood. They didn't start Christian Wood last game. Do we have a lineup?
We do not. That's the
They started Thon McCurd next to Sekou Doumbouya. So Detroit is a real pain in the balls because they keep saying they're going to do stuff and they don't really do it. But the combination of a lineup in flux that is trying to give the kids some momentum, and the fact that they really they did not start Christian Wood the last game with Markieff gone and with Reggie gone and all this other. They still did not start him. Now he came off the bench. He played 27 minutes. He was really good, but he came off the bench and played 27 minutes. So I'll take Aldridge starting and playing 34 at a similar rate of production, a little lower.
Do you have any issue with playing Aldridge and DeRozan together?
I want to make sure I'm playing some Thunder at that point as well. But again, that doesn't feel mathematically, that's not ideal. I do not think they correlate more positively than negatively, but there are enough, low occurrence chances, and that lineup will be very unique. So I suspect that balances out in the end. That's one of the tough decisions is whenever someone asks a question, should I do this thing? This thing may be a bad idea, but most people know it's a bad idea, so it occurs very rarely. So you get some great differentiation from the field, and you're trying to, on the fly, quantify what the extra value is for being different versus what the negative inherent value is towards playing those two guys. So my gut is I don't have any problem with you doing that because very few lineups will have those two guys. And we just alluded to a minute ago a game where DeRozan had 40-something and Aldridge still beat him. So clearly that's in the range of outcomes. So my guess is that's just fine, but it's sort of a complicated question, and it is a play that will win more when it works and not frequently work. So it has a lot to do with a lot of things.
All right. We kind of bounced around that one, but I think you hit everything that you wanted to.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. Chicago, the Wizards. God, I hate the Wizards. They're not even fun to watch anymore. Bradley Beal, whatevs. I don't really like anybody else from Chicago. Tomas Satoransky, familiar with this squad. Killed us last night. Ripped my heart out and showed it to me while it was still beating.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I did. It was 7 fantasy points or something
It wasn't good.
Craptastic like that. It
I do
was
not
just
believe he made a shot. It was 0 of 7 or 1 of 7 from the field, played only like 23, 25 minutes, and then they just said, Kobe White, you do it. Tomas, why don't you take a break?
yeah.
Yeah.
That
Both teams
was
on a back-to-back, by the way. Chicago, as you alluded to, hosted the Suns last night, Washington night, and uh, Washington is in Chicago tonight and hosts the Bucks tomorrow. So both teams on a back-to-back. Doesn't really matter.
quick
Everyone's playing.
quick
Everyone's
super
playing 15
super
minutes
draft
anyway.
or a quick super chat here. Can you rank on FanDuel Ball, Brogdon, and Murray, please, for tournaments?
You can. You're a better man than I am. I have them all fairly close, and it's going to have a lot to do with what you're like. That's a very difficult question for me to ask. From a raw point per dollar standpoint, I have them close enough that I have a feeling I would look at our ownership projections and react inversely. So we have them ball highest at 33%. And then the other two were Brogdon at 22. Who is the third member of this trinity?
I don't know if it's DeJounte or Jamal. I don't know the FanDuel.
Right. I think Jamal Murray costs more, so I don't think it's Jamal Murray. Both those guys are 6'1" and 6'2", and DeJounte 6 flat. So it's DeJounte. Is what he's asking about.
Yeah, it's
Jamal Murray is 7 and
76 for Jamal, so it's DeJounte.
He's asking about the other one. I, especially if I don't have Aldridge, though not unreasonable if you have him, probably will take the lowest ownership on DeJounte Murray there based on what we expect. But I don't have a strong take there for you. And like if you don't take Lonzo, I like getting my way to Ingram, Drew, or Zion because it's hard to imagine one of those guys at least doesn't turn out pretty good in a matchup with Golden State. So it's gonna have a lot to do with your build. But in a vacuum, no other considerations. I would probably prefer DeJounte at 10%, a little bit, to those other two guys. But it'd be very close. His projection is the lowest for me. So no great answer. Sorry.
All right, 17 minutes left. Super draft contest half full right now. 850 out of 1700. I like Lonzo Ball there. I believe 1.4 multiplier.
Juicy.
He was one of my 1.45 actually, one of my written up plays of the day. I like the fact that you get the assists, you get the steals, you get the blocks, or pardon me, the rebounds. He doesn't take as many shots as I would like, but he does average 2.4 made 3-pointers a game. You get a little bonus for those as well. He's kind of averaging around 40 fantasy points. That you put the multiplier on that's going to add another 45%. That's a nice number. He could flirt with 60 over there on SuperDraft, which is what we're trying to get to. I like that one there. Back to our game at hand here. Wizards, Bulls. Yay. That's cannon fodder is what it is for me.
I don't like Beal. I like less than Levine. I like less than some of the other options. I think he is a little overpriced, but clearly he can go off and go nuts. And the vaunted Chicago backcourt defense is not what it used to be. Sans Chris Dunn and a couple other guys. So I'm very meh on Bradley Beal. I haven't projected get into the mid 40s. That's not good enough for me to like him. Again, I would rather have Zach LaVine in similar range and position. And across the ball, obviously, but you can certainly play some Bradley Beal. I don't have a strong take. The rest of that team is very meh. Ish Smith should get his time. Don't hate it. Rui Hachimura, in a better position to be effective in this particular matchup. I want to go inside against Chicago, especially this Chicago team missing most of its quality bigs. So Hachimura, I would have a couple shares of. I can see going at something like Jan Mahinmi or Thomas Bryant at 3,700 or 4K or something because the matchup is supreme, but you need to get really lucky with the minutes. So I have like Hachimura, Wagner, and Bryant all projected to score about the same amount. But if one of them randomly gets 24 minutes at a price at or under 4K, he could be really, really good against the Chicago team. I have no insight as to who that would be, particularly at this moment. Chicago, I like playing Tomas Satoransky because he just kicked everyone in the dick and he'll be unreasonably owned because of that and a really good matchup. Basically, all the Bulls were ranked fairly well for me. The top 5 have A's and GPPs for me. But favorite is probably Levine. I don't have a problem getting to Gafford in a really nice spot. I don't have a problem going back to Kobe White. Obviously, still cheaper than Satoransky. You very possibly see what you saw last game. They're obviously throwing him lots of minutes all the time now. Team's not going anywhere, so hard to not really like that. Still very scoring dependent. Cash, I'd still probably rather play Tomas Satoransky today than Kobe White because of the ways in particular they score. But I'm a fan of getting to at least a bull, and I like spending up for Levine if I can. But Satoransky, White, Gafford are Arcidiacono fine at 3,200 should he land in your lineup. The minutes have been there. I would rather play Gafford than Felicio a little bit if possible. But yeah, I ranked 7 bowls or something, and everyone had mostly B's and A's. So like into the bowls, Wizards are really really bad.
Yeah. Jumping on to the next game, we got 15 minutes to go here. 2 left. Pellies at Golden State. No Draymond. Most likely we will get Eric Pascal starting there. I do like him. Wiggins is a guy I like over on SuperDraft. 1.5 multiplier tonight. Feel like he should be getting some shots here. I like Lonzo Ball on SuperDraft, as I mentioned. I'm tepid on Zion in this one. But on SuperDraft, he is I think it's a 1.6 multiplier for him.
That's got to be close to the best play on the slate.
Oh, okay. So let's start with Zion here. 1.55 for Zion.
And it's still going to be close to the. I'm going to look at Alex.
So Aldridge is 1.45, Wiggins is 1.5, and I had Juancho Hernangomez in my shell lineup. He's at 2.
So I'm looking at the.
Probably should go Zion over Juancho.
At their thing, yeah, we have Zion is 5th in Alex's projections on SuperDraft, massively behind CJ McCollum, which is ridiculous. Just play CJ McCollum. He's at a 1.55. I have him projected for like 47 normal fantasy points, so that's 73 and some change, which feels pretty good. Second, Alex has Christian Wood. Again, I have some concern there, and he's in a pretty.
A guy in chat named Alex Baker mentioned that start for Wood was because of the Giannis matchup.
I hadn't heard that. So assuming that is, I presume Alex knows what he's talking about. So, okay. Well, then let's. I don't quite get it. Like Thon or Sekou was supposed to. I don't know. Anyway. But that's perfectly relevant information, and thank you for pointing it out. So I'm assuming that was said somewhere, so I'd like to source that, but we obviously don't have time right now. But that's that would make some sense, I suppose. Like you could just guard him with whichever guy you want to guard him with at the 4. And anyway, sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how that makes sense. But so I still have concern about Christian Wood again because A, the team is all the hell over the place, and B, they are, fully in the tank and trying to give their kids more minutes. And he's very like Rondé Hollis Jefferson in Toronto, where there are lots of times they should go that way more and don't. So illogical team hatred toward player factors in for me there. He's just not that cheap anymore. SuperDraft makes a lot of sense for me. 1.6. I like that play, and there's a ceiling where he gets 50 real in a very good matchup, and then that drops an 80 burger. But the price, I would rather Aldridge obviously at a very similar price. You referred me to this game. I am lower than many on Andrew Wiggins. It's not hard to see the ceiling. Obviously, also the 4th meeting between these two teams this year, although obviously so first of all, it's the first one since I think December. So it's the first one this calendar year, and the teams have changed a lot. So there wasn't a ton to draw from there. So the appeal for Wiggins is obvious. New Orleans plays fast. The defense isn't wonderful, though it's improving from the ceiling where they had been in the past. I would much rather play Pascal, obviously, than going with Wiggins. Pascal did have, by the way, in a game, Draymond played 30 real against the Pelicans earlier this year. I worry about Wiggins. The price is just too high for me to like him that much. If you look at his, recent hot streak, he had 2 really good games. I think in both those games, he had 6 combined stocks. That's really not his game. So, knocking an average of 10 off those games, and then you're going to get, a more realistic figure what you'd see most of the time there. Obviously, those aren't impossible to include, but he's just a little too expensive for me if he's still going to retain a lot of ownership. And last I checked, he was going to. For the Pellies, 6,900 for Brandon Ingram is obviously incredibly juicy on DraftKings. I like that a lot. We have him expected to be very highly owned. I don't hate it. It's a really nice spot for him. Got him projected north of 40, 6,900. That's going to math out. Well, it's nice. Past that, it moves around a bit site by site. DraftKings for me, it's probably, I should check because I actually have it incredibly close. And I don't want to misquote myself. Relative to rankings, but they all rank for me as solid plays. Not quite ideal in cash, but fine in turn. I think they're all B's and A's except for Brandon Ingram, who I have as a double A in that particular spot. So I like taking a shot at these guys. I think DK I slightly prefer Drew. I have Drew, Zion, Ball behind him in that order. FanDuel, Ball probably gets on top because of how nice the price is. Let me talk on a couple other things real quick before we run out of time. Jordan Bone is down in the G League last I checked for the Pistons, unless they reverted that later in the day. That has something to do with point guard minutes and how you can expect to play it out. It's I think he's their second rounder this year, but he's someone that they'll continue to give time in their youth movement as time goes on. So that's some appeal for your backcourt plays. Bruce Brown, Derrick Rose. Like, Derrick Rose is really cheap, and the matchup's really good. And last game we got, I want to say 23 minutes. That's obviously very concerning, but certainly some interest there. Portland, I'm trying to think if I have anything terribly interesting to say. No Lillard, obviously. No Hazonia. McCollum is criminally underpriced on FanDuel and underranked, I guess, on under multiplied on SuperDraft. Okay, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. I looked at critical as at the start of the day.
If you're playing one lineup, do you start it with Aaron Holiday?
Let's see if we have an ownership update. I suspect I would find a way to get him in there if I possibly could. I mean, he's not been super productive recently. The role is a little specious with everything going on. There are ways in which the time doesn't work out that great for him, but start it with I still prefer to play by any point per dollar consideration Pascal or McLaughlin for $1,000 more. I think they both have just spots in which they're more likely to accrue some sort of upside. Keep in mind that you have Holiday out there as basically fifth option on offense. He's not out there playing point guard. He's out there next to Brogdon a lot. So I think he's a strong value play, and I suspect he's under-owned. I'll guess we come in the high teens on Holiday right now. I don't know if that's a lock game. Is that game at lock? Not. It's an hour after, I think. Anyway, so we won't be able to tell you on the air. So I'm fine getting to it. It's a bit of a priority, but starting with no, I don't think I'm really getting there. But it's intriguing. I will say that.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get my.
I will check. It is at lock. It is at lock. I knew the Minnesota game was. That's the other one. I knew there were two. For some reason, I thought it might be the Chicago game, but no, the Toronto and Denver games are the lock games. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm not gonna get my upload in time here, so I'm scrambling.
Okay, we got 6 minutes, so hopefully you're not super stressing.
No, but speaking of SuperDraft does have overlays still. I just entered my lineup in that contest. That's over at superdraft.io. If you use the promo code AWESEMO when you make your first deposit, if it's $100, they'll give you $20 in Super Cash. That's available for immediate use into any contest. There are 500 spots left with 6 minutes to go. FanDuel GPP, Jokic or Whiteside? The question of the ages.
The ages being defined as tonight.
Today. The dark.
We have Whiteside over 50%, so yeah, that's pretty easily Jokic for me. That's not even terribly close. Like I on FanDuel, I do have Whiteside as a better point per dollar play. Not by an insignificant margin, but 57% ownership is a big number for a guy there. So yeah, that feels like a little bit too high for me. So yeah, I would play. I mean, it's not like Jokic is in a bad spot whatsoever. Again, I repeat, Naz Reid, who we have confirmed starting, just gave up 25 and 16 to Daniel Tice. So I presuming you can get a similar line out of Jokic and Whiteside, while quite good, not etched in stone. So yeah, I would in a starting a lineup. I will play what I presume will be 20% Jokic as opposed to 60% Whiteside.
It's
even 20. I mean, you only get 100% on FanDuel centers.
So what do you think about McConnell at 84 on DK? He's criminally underpriced on, I believe, as you mentioned, on FanDuel, but DK,
McCollum.
you still want him?
Oh yeah, quite a bit. Sorry, you said McConnell. This is where I got confused.
I'm sorry, McCollum. Well,
yeah,
I'm going to ask a McConnell question too because that came in. So
okay, no problem. I don't want McConnell. That was easy.
Thank you.
Like I think he's still priced in like the 4K range. That's too much for me. If he's 3K 3,200 or something, I did not rank him because I remember looking at the price and going, "There's just better value options for me to look at." The matchup is obviously not good. He's not pulling the start. You have both Lamb and Justin Holiday who are going to be involved significantly off the bench as far as usage and other things. He will play backup point for 15 or 60 minutes, but that might be it. So not terribly interested in McConnell. McCollum, I still like quite a bit at 8,400. That's a really good matchup, and he is still undersold. It's not obviously undersold as FanDuel, but without Lillard against Detroit, he should cost 9-ish. I mean, he really should carry a very, very significant number. Everything goes up. So,
how do you feel about Trevor Ariza as a differentiation play?
I like it. Play Ariza, don't play Melo, for example. Melo is going to be really popular. Play Ariza instead. I have him pretty similarly. I ranked them, I think, identically for all intents and purposes. I have Ariza as double Bs. I have Melo as a B and an A. That feels right. But in a single lineup, I'm fine making that move.
What would you go with all? What would you go with Aldridge? Pardon me. How much? What are you projecting Aldridge for your strong take on that? You got him at like 55 fantasy points, maybe?
No, I have him at I think 48 and some change.
Okay.
Which, is not nearly as brilliant. I have him at 46 and a quarter, but I suspect that is still some. I don't know. I will guess Alex has him at 40, give or take a point, if you want to take a look at it. So
that's about where it is.
I have him, obviously fairly significantly over that. And again, it makes sense to me. It's one of those times that intuition plus video plus, having watched the games and what has happened in the past all sort of add up to the same conclusion. So, he's not brilliant because he's just not that cheap anymore. And unlike some of these other guys, Brandon Ingram, whatever, he's unlikely to drop you a 60 burger. Even in this, what I consider to be one of the best matchups he can have, I don't think he got 60 in any of these games we were looking at before. So the upside is capped a little bit, but at the ownership, which I expect to be nominal, which I will check now because I have that power.
What do you think?
FanDuel 10 and DraftKings, I'm guessing somewhere in that range. So
what do you think Aaron Holiday's going to get? Do you think he'll hit 20 fantasy points tonight?
I think I have him projected lower than I said before. I was just re-looking at that at the minutes. I think I have. Okay, let me answer that because it's obviously critical, and I am running out of time, so I have to rework this rotation because I had everything done with Lamb in there. Boom, boom, boom. That there. I have, and then the matchup is this. I have 29 minutes and 25 fantasy points.
Okay.
So, that's pretty good.
CP3 or Jamal Murray?
Assuming I have no other members of the Thunder and Aldridge, I would play CP3. If I have would have them very close. So it's going to depend what else my lineup is doing. I don't have a strong take there.
All right.
Trying to make sure I have a member of the Thunder, or trying to make sure I have, spot across. It depends what you're trying to do with your lineup.
I'm trying to find one that has Fred VanVleet in it.
What is this? Aaron Holiday this year is I have this 0.8 something, 0.9, 0.8, 0.88 DraftKings points per minute. So I'm slightly underrating him on that, apparently, which feels right in this matchup and less time off the bench. So 29 minutes would normally be 29 times 0.9 would be 26.1. Drop of 0.2 would be 25.7, and I'm for a bit less than that. So yeah, but 25 is feels about right. The minutes are obviously not secure, but they feel pretty good. You could get more than that. You caught the start, but 29 is what I have right now if the rotation goes the way I expect. I see you looking around.
I'm trying to find a Fred VanVleet lineup so I can put him into my Fred VanVleet contest.
I'm just upset I didn't get to watch the Lakers and Celtics game.
Got it in. Thank you. Woo! That was crazy.
I'm glad you are having fun.
I don't know that fun is the right word. but it was something.
It was a thing.
I need a that's not gonna get it. I was gonna say I need a second counter here on my computer so I know how close I am to lock, which we are at.
I do not miss the sweat. Oh, we gotta get this in before this stuff. Like it is if you have a heart condition, it is dangerous to play DFS towards lock.
Yes, that is. Oh, because you hold your breath, you stop breathing. I'm trying to still help people here because we do have lots of people here. 1,500 watching. Hey, hit that like button. We would appreciate that. SuperDraft contest went off about 300 shy, maybe. Let's refresh that.
That sounds like actual overlay.
Yep, it was 1,408 out of 1,700.
Sure. What was the entry fee?
$12.
Nice.
Malik Beasley is 41% owned.
He was 1.8 or some really sexy number?
1.75.
That is a very sexy number.
And reminder, they do have late swap there. Jordan McLaughlin is 36.
Interesting.
He had 1.9.
I should sit back for it is that time.
It is. Let's see. Shimmy Shimmy Cocoa Pop. He's playing Sabonis in one of his lineups. Shout out to him for taking that down last night. And thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that tremendously. Jokic coming in at 4.6% at the center spot. TJ Warren was 4.5. Ibaka 3.3. Ibaka had a 1.5. Warren's got a 1.45. Warren almost made my lineup, but ended up sticking with Andrew Wiggins instead.
Yeah, I liked him on DraftKings by merit of kind of wanting someone from that team and no one else being priced particularly well. Now, obviously, Holiday showed up, so that's a bit. I'm curious what Holiday is owned. He locked. Let's figure it out.
I'm downloading now.
Oh, it's still. Sorry, I know sometimes it takes a couple minutes.
Yeah, it's rendering, shall we say? I don't know that's
really. You get like a graphical display. Faces come up like Jordan McLaughlin. It's rendering. It's strong.
No, it's a sign that says
clear my throat.
Yeah, pardon our dust. We are under construction. Okay, well, this will be interesting.
I hope you don't mind.
All right. Who was number
Jordan
1?
McLaughlin.
And what percent was he? I did 60.
I think you're over. I think we had him a little bit low. If there's been a wrinkle in the algorithm recently, Top Chalk Guy has been a little bit low. I don't think it was massively low this time, though. I'll go 50.
Very good. 49.
Ta-da. I retire.
Who does number 2 work for?
Yeah, that's tough. Okay, so we have...
Oh, I don't think I got enough of him.
We have the Denver game.
Piss.
And we have the Toronto game. So Toronto, Indiana, Denver, Minnesota. It's probably Malik Beasley, but let me go through and make sure there's not some dumb mispricing. There's no way. Yeah, I'll say Malik Beasley.
Malik Beasley is number 2. I, unfortunately, only had him at 20%. What did the field have in it?
We said 21, 22 at the time. That felt kind of low for me. I'll say 30.
He is at 37.
Yeah, that's dude's just gonna take a lot of shots, and even though you don't like the matchup, and I didn't talk about this when talking about Wiggins before, but I saw a lot of Wiggins today because I resaw his performances against Denver, and he was very good against Denver this year, and Beasley's game replicates his to enough of a degree that it's not crazy to say like, okay, this is Wiggins without Towns at $5,200 or $5,800, so that's about the right number for him. Both those are about right. McLaughlin, 40s to 50 was right. Beasley, we had it 21, 22, whatever low, and I was like, I'd want nearly double that. So those are about the right numbers. I don't have a strong take.
Number 3?
There's a lot of good value in Holiday Open. I'll try Jokic.
Jokic is 5. Or 5th. I'm sorry. Jokic is 5th.
Oh, I assume that's
my
apologies. 5%. I'd be like, dear God, I want all the Jokic.
No, Aaron Holiday is 5%.
Aaron Holiday is 5%?
Yeah, I think I have more than that.
Starting at the floor price? I mean, great matchup for him.
I had 30%.
Yeah, feel really good about being 6 times the field on that. 30 is about the number I think I'd want to be at. Like, it's a tough matchup, and I can't guarantee the minutes, but I am at 29, and I feel pretty good about it. It's, he's not playing point guard much of the game, maybe all of the game. And there's it can go wrong because you have, Lamb and his brother waiting to sort of get in the way, and I suppose TJ McCollum to a certain extent. But 3K, that 5%, that's really weird. Okay. Yeah, I would have gotten. You should just ask me what's he on, because I'd have said 15 or so.
Yeah, I figured he'd be closer to 17.
Naz Reid will be.
Naz Reid is third.
30.
Yep, 32.5.
Yeah,
Jokic was
better
47.
than the 42.5 we were looking at for a while there. Still probably a little more than I'd have.
I have 40 because I didn't change that cap on ours and I wanted to. Oops.
It's not like he's a bad player. As
long as he doesn't Tomas Satoransky me, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, the ways it could go wrong are obvious, but if he gets out there and plays his 30 whatever minutes, he's going to be just fine. Too great. So, I think the correct number there is probably like high 20s, but it's not 40 whatever would have been, I think, long term wrong, but that's fine.
All right. Let's see. 3 more guys are in double digits. 4 more guys.
You're giving me Jokic already?
Yep. So four that we have not talked about.
Lamb didn't start, so he'll fly. TJ Warren.
TJ Warren is in that. He is at 11. There's still one guy above him that we haven't mentioned. Oh, 2 guys above him we haven't mentioned.
Will Barton.
Will Barton coming in at 30%.
Yeah, man. Price and matchup are really good there. It's hard to argue that in the minutes for there. So, you can catch 45, 50 out of him tonight. It wouldn't be that weird. So,
and Wancho at 13.5.
Yeah, I might have waited a while on that one. Yeah, it's tough matchup there, so a little easier to get to a couple other guys, and 5K isn't the best price for him, but what was Wancho owned at? Sorry,
12, I think. 13.5.
Yeah, that's fine then. And then we're missing one.
Mm-hmm.
James Johnson didn't.
No, James Johnson is 3.5.
Right. So I would have played that at same price over Naz Reid at 10 times the ownership. I think that's a fun GPP pivot when you have a chalky guy and there's some immediate correlation, and they relate pretty similar. And they also do play next to each other, by the way. He also backs up Wancho. They whatever that Celtics game you had 30 whatever minutes out of Naz, but you had 20 whatever minutes still out of James Johnson, even though he didn't start.
Good God, we saw Johnson play small forward at Miami. I mean, he can do a bunch of different things.
He claims infamously that he can pin a basketball between the rim and the backboard and dislodge it with a crescent kick. Google this. He legitimately said you can take a basketball, pin it between the rim and the backboard.
Oh, not in the same motion he's doing all this.
No.
Okay.
No, he cannot jump up, pin the ball.
I was like, are we talking about superhero movies again? Because this feels like...
That's insane. I never thought of it that way. I presume he didn't mean in one motion, but I believe he said that he could hit that with it, which, okay. Nice. I'd like these. He is high on the list of dudes you do not want to fight in the NBA. He's not all out there about it full, Marcus Morris, tough guy style, but he's apparently, many times black belt and will mess you up if you say something unkind about his sister.
Wow. All right. Ibaka was the missing guy at 10-7.
Yeah. I don't mind him. Been good. Obviously good matchup. Pacers, Miles Turner had, I think, at least 2 20-10 games against them this year. So I liked Ibaka. I was very close between the secondary options there. But Lowry, Ibaka, VanVleet.
Lowry's 5. VanVleet is 2.4. Yeah, Justin Holiday 1.5. Michael Porter Jr. 1.3.
Aaron Holiday is still blowing my mind. Like, don't get me wrong. I think 15 would have been right. I'm not thinking like 40 would have been right. But
is Jordan McRae healthy?
He's not in the rotation. He's healthy.
0.42?
He's technically active and on the team. That is not a self-playing there.
Amari Spellman, he's still with the G League, right?
He's in the G League, so
Okay.
that is, I believe, I'm not certain on that, as occasionally they reverse those things, but on the early injury report, he was listed as down in the G League. So,
Stanley Johnson, is he still alive? Well, cross him off.
Yeah, no, well. This guy's dead. Well, cross him off then. I believe he is active and with the team.
All right, Alan Crabbe, he was hurt the other day. He's out today.
He's out. Bounced him out.
0.02. Victor Oladipo 0.01. D'Angelo Russell 0.01. Norman Powell 0.01. Patrick McCaw 0.01. Mark Gasol 0.01. Karl Anthony Towns is on teams. TJ Leaf is on teams. Oshak Hennessy, go down and see Principal Oshak Hennessy. That would be O'Shea Brissett is on teams. Oh, Noah Vonleh, is he playing anymore, or is he? Remember when he had that stretch? Was that last year with the Knicks where he was competent for like 12 games and it was outstanding?
I don't know why he's not good yet either. Like, there's a lot of players where people are like, "Why isn't this guy on a team?" And I'm like, "Well, let me explain." He doesn't look that bad for me defensively. He doesn't miss that many assignments. He's for a big guy, a pretty decent shooter. He does everything okay. I'm not saying I think he should be starting and playing 35 minutes for a championship team, but my internal registry of him, again, I'm not a Noah Vonleh scholar, is that he should be playing like 15 minutes as a backup somewhere. So I don't know for any good reason why he hasn't caught on. I really don't. I don't have a good answer to that.
Because he was fine in Portland. I mean, he's a rotation guy in Portland.
Yeah. I mean, they got some better stuff, but again, that was a team with a real hole in that spot, and you had Hazonia injuries and Hood out, and they still went out and got Melo, who, at the top of my head, I would have those guys not radically different, and that's clearly some significant disrespect to Carmelo Anthony, even at this late.
God, Rodney Hood! I forgot about Rodney Hood.
Yeah, he
was that Portland this season or was it last season?
That was this year. Rodney Hood tore his.
God, this year's gone a long time.
We're almost done, boys. We got like 2 months in the regular season. We're wrapping up here.
Baseball's a month away, so
there were 6 games today, and 4 of them were the 4th time those two teams had met. Chicago. This is the last Chicago Washington game. This is the last San Antonio OKC game. This is the last Minnesota Denver game. This is the last Indiana Toronto game. And this is the last New Orleans. 5 of them. Huh. You have Portland playing Detroit, who has not played yet this year. That's cross conference, and the other 5 are all the final meeting of the year. I'm almost certain.
Wood or Wiggins?
Say again.
Wood or Wiggins? No site given.
Do I have a starting lineup yet saying that Christian Wood is starting?
We don't. But there was a Jay Walker did post a tweet for us that talked about the start for why Wood came off the bench.
I want to see it then.
You'll have to scroll up a little bit. Shoot, I had one other question for you.
I'm gonna look it up because I missed that, and I want to make sure I add. If nothing else, I want to add the source, because. Okay, let's Google. Didn't come up with my alerts either. All right, let's Google Wood bench Giannis. See what comes up.
And I will use Slack search is not the best.
It's not good. Slack search is not good. It should not be so hard for me to I know it was in this channel and I still can't get it.
Yeah.
Sure, someone has told us by now, and I could just look in the.
Oh, it's he gave it to your Slack DM if you want to find it.
Per Casey, Christian Wood came off the bench due to matchup concerns with Giannis, and that was the day of that. Yeah, I just missed that somehow. I have that guy followed too. Yeah, Duncan Smith.
Moses Guthrie reached out on Twitter and did say that he has the answer for you in the interview you were watching. The Nikolai?
Nicola and Nicola. It's not Nikolai. It's Nicola and Nicola. Yeah. I think I may have transliterated which goes to which, but I am listening.
The person giving the interview was Jokic himself.
Okay, well, I would consider that a first-hand source. And am I correct? Now
he had just mentioned that. I didn't go verify that.
So it's Nikola Jokic and Nikola Vucevic. I think. Can we get Vucevic saying his name? And Jokic, let's go super team. Let's get it together. And
These are the good things. March 26th is opening day, Thursday, for the third consecutive season. All 30 teams.
March 26th. I love baseball, by the way. I played it for a long time, even into adulthood. I played fall ball and spring ball. Like, I really like baseball. I went to a lot of opening days in Cleveland. Let me tell you, it's cold. Like, it is crappy. It does not feel like, the boys of summer. It feels like this is cold. Why the hell are we playing baseball? And then it was early April. Apparently they're continuing to back that up.
Well, I believe it was Kansas City. It might have been 2 years ago where they had a game where it snowed. And they also had a game that year where it was almost like 110 or something crazy.
Toronto is winning 13-1. That's not a game you see. That's not a score you see frequently. Serge Ibaka, 7 points and 2 rebounds so far. Pascal Siakam, 3-1. Kyle Lowry, 3-2. And Sabonis has made a free throw. Literally, we are 2 minutes and 15 seconds into this game. Like, all the starters, except for, I'm pretty sure, Anunoby. No, Anunoby has an assist and a rebound, have stats for the Raptors. Collectively, as a team, the Pacers have a rebound and a point in 2 minutes and 15 seconds. That's not a lot. That's not good.
So would you go with Rui Hachimura or Tomas Satoransky on DK? He does not have any other Bulls guards.
He doesn't have Kobe. I'd play Satoransky there a little bit. I don't mind getting to some Hachimura, but I would a little bit there prefer. They are pronounced the same. People are just texting the crap out of me here. Apparently,
now I want to go see. I'm just repeating what people say. I don't have a dog in this one, but now I want to go find that interview.
Let's see.
This is fun.
Guess what, guys? I got bad news. Naz Reid, 8 points and a rebound in 4 minutes. That's very good. Also got 2 of those personal foul things, though. Oh, you see what happens? No. I don't have a strong dog in that either, because I imagine we played somewhere around the field, so it's whatever. So still 8-1. That's really good. Now we look at Jokic's stats, which I would hope would be similarly impressive. 5-0. 3 minutes, by the way. So in 3.5 minutes, 8-1. It's a pretty good game there, Naz Reid. That's. Speaking of points per minute, I know you got really upset by Jalen Brunson, but let me tell you, you picked him on a day in which he was on pace for 480 fantasy points because he played 12 seconds and had 2 fantasy points. 5 times that's a minute. That's 10 fantasy points a minute. He was on pace, assuming he would play the whole game, which I'm sure he would have if he was going that well. 480 fantasy points out of Brunson. If it wasn't for that injury, you were mint.
If you had a lineup hypothetically, of course, in the $33 FanDuel after hours slate, what would the best approach be to gain leverage against that field? And that'll wrap things up.
I will look, though I hate answering a question like that about a slate I haven't seen in 1 minute, but sure. Full roster after hours Sunday 8:30. We'll look at this sexy $15,000 shot.
You know what?
2-game slate, full lineup. So you really have to play CJ McCollum. So let's see if I just pick the best guys if I can spend all my salary here. So let's go Whiteside. You get in there too. We'll just start clicking all the guys at the top and see how much we go over. Not by that much, kids. Okay. That's a lot of Pellies. Put him in there. Gonna really like Wood, assuming he starts, which seems to be the predominant likelihood at this point. So what's the thing? Well, I'd play CJ McCollum, but everyone will. Let me just think for a second, look and see if there's like anything here that resembles an edge.
Maybe
differentiated center.
I'm trying to think of a Golden State play that maybe Jordan Poole.
All right, so I mean, I don't have but people are gonna play Poole and Lee in this for like. I don't have
Trevor Ariza. I'm telling you.
I don't mind Trevor. Trevor's fine. Playing 35 minutes in a really good matchup. Like, let's go. You can play Trevor Ariza. I don't think it's that crazy. I mean,
wrote him up in the syllabus today.
Bruce Brown over Gary Trent. I think would favor well for my projection and including the ownership. Not playing Hassan Whiteside at center. I mean, center is a wasteland. Your centers are Whiteside, literally in order of assuming Chris sits, which I don't think we know yet. But assuming Chris sits, literally your centers in order of most expensive down are Whiteside, Favors, Thon McCurr. Okay, so that got bad in a hurry. Henson, Hayes, Brown, Looney, Okafor, like, woo! So what sucks is that's like, I don't even know where you go there. I don't want to play Thon with Wood presumably starting, and even when he started, Thon played, I think, like 18 minutes in that game. That's not super exciting. All these other guys just playing blowout. So center would literally be just Whiteside and Favors. And there's not much of a cap, so you're going to have 85% Whiteside, 12% Favors, and a couple dudes in there. But that's probably about right. So
Mccollum, someone.
I guess right now, looking at it for a minute, if I was going to try to build a spicy lineup, I would play no Eric Pascal. I really like Eric Pascal today, but it's still Eric Pascal, largely just a points and rebounds guy. He can have a cold shooting night, not bring down the ball a lot, end up with, 8 points, 5 rebounds, and one other thing, and 16 fantasy points at 78% owned in that contest. So double paying up at power forward and playing like Wood and Williamson, I think is the
Hey, Indiana got a field goal.
Hey, they scored.
It was 15-1.
Yeah, it's 15
now it's 15-3.
Yeah, there you go. You can sew.
Exciting. Malcolm Brogdon.
I told you it'd be great, and by great I mean the only guy on the team to have scored a basket. They have a field goal. We are 5.5 minutes into this game, so when I said it's not a good matchup, like, I didn't think it'd be this bad. Aaron Holiday, by the way. Aaron Holiday is a steal and a rebound. He may have the most fantasy points on the team. He does.
He's 0 for 4, though, with 3 missed three-pointers.
Honestly, I'm happier about that. Like, it's a plus and a minus thing. Like, he's out there, he's chucking. That's all good. But there's a bit of a downside if he gets up to 08, 09, he turns into Jeremy Lamb or Justin Holiday in a big-ass hurry. So, but he's got steal and a rebound. That's he's over 1x already.
Fred VanVleet. Flirting with Club Trillion there.
Yeah, I like Lowry a bit more than VanVleet in this one. He's been it just plays a little bit more to his strengths. Ibaka 9-5 so far in 5 minutes.
Wow, Boston and the Lakers 2-point game.
Yeah, it's over. Just ended.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah, Lakers won, which is nice to see because they got smacked in Boston. So. Good to see them get up there. Jason Tatum, by the way, 41 real, 5-2, 1-2. So Jason Tatum with a hot 60 burger here.
13 of 15 from the line. That's pretty good.
Daniel Tice 16-9, which is fine, but there's no Naz Reid out there. Anthony Davis 32, 13, 3-2. LeBron James 29, 8-9. Only ends up being disappointing, but 2 rebounds and an assist. They'd be like 30-point triple double. That's one of the things.
All right, with that, we are going to get on out of here. Reminder, you can still swap around your lineups there a little bit on the old SuperDraft, but definitely check that out. Do they have contests?
They just took away Aaron Holiday's steal, and he got a turnover, so he's plummeted to a rebound and a turnover after 7 minutes. So I'm glad I did not go too crazy on that. But he's going to miss his projection by a lot. But I'm glad I said, no, I think I'd stick with the other value still. Because, I mean, that whole team, like, they got 3 points in 7 minutes. They're on pace to score 20 points. Put it that way. Literally on pace to score 20 points.
Do you think, looking ahead, do you think Giannis sits tomorrow against the Wizards? They're not going to need him.
Well, that's sort of besides the point. I mean, he sat for personal reasons. He wasn't injured.
Right? No, I know.
I don't
think he played them. He didn't. When they were up there, he didn't play. But that was his.
Yeah. I don't think it's even the back-to-back. It's obviously not the. Let me check, but I don't think that's a back-to-back. It is a back-to-back for them. They're at Washington tomorrow and then at Toronto the day after that. So. Not impossible. Takes an extra day, gets to spend some time with the baby. So, yeah, maybe. You'll know well in advance.
Right. No, I was
just... I'm not going to spring it on you, but I didn't think it was the front end. It is the front end. It's Washington, then Toronto. So, yeah, maybe he stays home. Plus, he foregoes a lot of the travel. instead of going Milwaukee to Washington to Toronto, he just goes Milwaukee to Toronto, which is a much one.
Yeah, because Bledsoe tomorrow is 1.55 on the old SuperDraft.
Number one.
And Middleton 1.35. There you go. All right, but yeah, check that out. SuperDraft.io. Use the promo code AWESEMO when you make your deposit. If it's $100 or more, they'll give you immediately $20 in Super Cash, which is available for immediate use into any contest. But with that, you can follow Eddie on Twitter at FastEddieFear. I am at EMACDFS. And of course, it is AWESEMO_COM. With that, gamers,